Santino Ferrucci is officially headed to the NASCAR Xfinity Series for 2021, but it's not with the team that we thought it originally was going to be, and it looks like there will be a limited amount of practice and qualifying for the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series season. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. We got a couple NASCAR stories to discuss here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. The first story we're going to talk about is 23XI Racing, as it looks like that the 23XI Racing hauler has been revealed earlier today. And I have to say that this hauler looks really, really awesome. The colors pop really, really well. You see the McDonald's scheme, you see the DoorDash scheme. This hauler is really, really good, and I think it pops really, really well. 23XI Racing has been revealing everything for their upcoming season in very first stages. First, they revealed the team. They first revealed the owners, and then they revealed Bubba Wallace, the driver. Then they revealed the organization's name. Then they revealed the manufacturers, and then the crew chief. And then they've been going step-by-step process, announcing what this team is going to look like. Again, we don't currently know what the paint schemes look like. I think that's going to be the next step. And I do think that there are going to be some schemes announced very, very soon. Again, we've been hearing reports that there's going to be a lot of announcements in the NASCAR world being announced, and I do assume in the next couple weeks that this will be announced and what the paint schemes are going to look like. But I really do like this hauler, and I think it's going to be a really good hauler to see on the way to racetrack if you are able to catch that. On to the next story. Jay Griffin is going to Raymond Brothers for both NASCAR Truck Series dirt races in 2021. That means that he will be racing at the Bristol Dirt Race, and he'll be racing at the Knox Race, which replaces the Eldora Dirt Race. So, I think Jay Griffin is a very, very talented dirt racer. I think a lot of people are going to say, no, Jay Griffin, he's not really going to do much at Raymond Brothers in 2021 in the both truck races he's entered. But I actually considerably disagree. I think Jay Griffin is a very, very good dirt racer. He's done very, very well in the NASCAR Truck Series races. And I remember when Mike Miller drove this truck, I think it was 2019, I think it was. He ended up running top 5 quite a bit of the night, and at the thing getting a top 5 finish at the Eldora race. I think realistically, Jake Griffith, especially at the Bristol Dirt Race, could actually be a contender for the win of the race. Yes, the Raymond Brothers trucks are not generally really that fast, but I think talent, especially if you're a good dirt racer, is going to matter a lot more than it is the equipment. We've seen drivers in not very good equipment be able to compete at top level and contend for wins in those previous races, as seen like Bobby Pierce a couple years ago in the 63 Mittler Brothers truck, whatever the team's name is. He did really well in those events. And Jay Griffin actually ran in 2000, I think it was this race in 2018, the dirt race at Eldora, and finishing in the top 5 for Red Horse Racing. Red Horse was 2017, 2018, whatever it was. He drove for a Red Horse and was very, very competitive and really, really fast. I think Jay Griffin in 2021 will have a shot at being pretty competitive in those select races in 2021 in the NASCAR Truck Series. And now we get on to the next story of this episode. GMS has revealed their 2021 Truck Series crew chief lineup that they will have for 2021. Jeff Stankiewicz, who was a crew chief for Sheldon Creed last year, he will be returning to crew chief for Sheldon Creed in 2021. Kevin Manning, who was Zane Smith's crew chief last year in the NASCAR Truck Series at GMS, he will be returning to crew chief for Zane Smith. Here is a change that is taking place, though, in 2021. Jeff Hensley, who was Grant Enfinger's crew chief in the NASCAR Truck Series in 2020, will be moving over to the number 23 truck, for Chase Purdy in 2021 to be a crew chief. So this is a really big pickup for GMS. He's the last crew chief of the final 4 crew chiefs that did not make it from GMS. So Jeff Hensley will be the crew chief for Chase Purdy in 2021. Chad Walter is going to be moving. He is from GMS, keep this in mind. But Chad Walter is going to be moving over from the 26 truck over to 24 truck. The crew chief for Rafael Star, who we found out yesterday was officially going to end up being the driver full-time of that 24 truck in 2021. And Charles Deneke or whatever his name is, he is going to be the crew chief for Tyler Ingham. He moves over from the 24 truck, and he will end up taking over the number 26 truck as a crew chief. Chad Norris, who is Brett Moffitt's crew chief, is actually going to be the competition director in 2021. The most significant pickup is Jeff Hensley, and because he came from ThorSport. Now, the big question I have is, who's going to crew chief for Grant Enfinger in 2020? Because Jeff Hensley's been working with Grant Enfinger since he started driving over at ThorSport the last couple years. So I'm wondering who is going to end up being the crew chief for Grant Enfinger. Is going to be someone that we don't know currently at the moment. Is going to be someone behind the scenes we really don't know at the moment. But I think that all these crew chiefs work very well. We know that Jeff Stankiewicz won the championship. You shouldn't be surprised that he's going to be returning. Kevin Mannion, again, he's a very, very good and very, very skilled crew chief. Guy has won many, many races and even won some cup races as well. And his time has been a championship contender last year and almost won the championship in the truck series. And then the other crew chiefs, they're all pretty solid overall. I think that this crew chief lineup is very, very sustainable, and we'll watch to see what happens for this team going forward in 2021 in the NASCAR Truck Series. And now we're getting on to the first of two major stories in this episode. Practice and qualifying is going to be back in the NASCAR Cup Series, but on a limited consensus basis. Only 8 of the NASCAR Cup Series races will have practice and qualifying for the 2021 season. And keep this in mind, this is only going to be a limited amount of practice. I don't know how long they're going to be having practice. I would assume maybe normal to what they used to do before they went into COVID-19 and they basically had to lock down NASCAR for a little bit, and they didn't have practice qualifying pretty much except the Coke 600. They only had qualifying. They didn't even have practice for that event. So 8 of the events will have practice qualifying. All the Crown Jewel events, so the Daytona 500, the Bristol Dirt Race, the Circuit of the Americas event, the Coca-Cola 600, the National Superspeedway, Road America, the Indy Road Course, and Phoenix will all have practice and qualifying. So what does that mean is that the Crown Jewel events, they're going to have practice and qualifying, and all the new tracks and the road course tracks that are new as well will have practice qualifying in 2021. I think it makes a lot of sense that the Crown Jewel events and your new tracks, you do get the practice qualifying because a lot of these drivers have never driven on these select type of racetracks before. Some have, of course, driven in tracks like Nashville, but I think that there were going to be few drivers, especially in certain tracks, that were going to have a big advantage. So NASCAR kind of the play on an even field and try to get these guys up to speed as well. It's also going to help the new teams that are moving around as well for those 8 select races, and it might help some other certain drivers as well be contenders in more of those races than the ones without practice and qualifying. I honestly do wish, though, that we have practice qualifying for all 36 races in 2021, but I can take this year off without having practice qualifying because of the fact with COVID-19, I guess they're trying to save money. But I do hope by 2022, I do hope that there is a way for every single race to have practice and qualifying. But I do think that if they are going to do practice qualifying in a limited consensus basis, I think that every single race they need to cut. We don't need, here's the thing. We don't need 3 or 4 hours of practice anymore. We've been able to learn that from this past year. We don't need to have 3 or 4 hours practice. I would say we get 1 practice session and a qualifying session for these teams to get up to speed. It also helps teams gel a little bit and get to know each other a lot more when you do have practice and qualifying. And teams are going to be able to gel a little more in these select races. But I really do not think that they are going to gel in a lot of the other races, if that makes any sense. And they're talking about having like iRacing to kind of take over the time when there isn't practice qualifying. Like I said, I really wish we could have practice qualifying for all 36 races. But I think for this year, I'm not going to be as frustrated about it. But, I mean, IndyCar and F1 have practice qualifying, so I'm wondering what's going to happen right there, you know. But there will be limited practice qualifying for 2021. Again, this was expected. Bob Pockers and multiple reporters have been reporting this for the last couple months when the schedule was officially released. And they reported all the way back in September that this is going to be what they were going to do for 2021. And now we have official confirmation only 8 races in 2021 are only going to have practice qualifying. So I guess a lot of fans are excited about that, but also some fans are frustrated because we can't have practice qualifying in every single race. But hopefully by 2022, we can have officially full practice and qualifying back, but I think a limited amount of practice instead of just having 3 or 4 hours practice. Like I said, we don't need 3 or 4 hours practice. That's just my honest opinion on that. And now we're getting on to the final major story of this episode. The biggest kept secret in the NASCAR garage has finally been revealed. Santino Ferrucci is officially going to be joining the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2021. He, instead of driving for what we thought was our Motorsports, he will now actually be driving for Sam Hunt Racing in 2021, driving the number 26 Xfinity Series car, Toyota Supra, in 2021. Now, he will only run a select number of races. He will run 20 of the 32 or 33 NASCAR Xfinity Series races. And here's something very important to note. There will be no road course races for Santino Ferrucci in 2021. He'll be focusing on intermediate tracks. He'll run a super speedway race that will not be Daytona. He will probably run one or two of the Talladega races, and he'll run a few short tracks in 2021 in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And his debut race, when he does get up to gear for the NASCAR Xfinity Series and starts the season, will not be until Homestead Miami, which actually will be the second or third race here for Xfinity, will be at Homestead Miami Speedway. This has been a big kept secret. We thought originally, though, that he was going to be driving for Our Motorsports because it's been reported for the last couple months that he's been in the running to take over as a driver at Our Motorsports. But this changes things a little bit because Santino Ferrucci, instead of driving for a Chevy organization, he'll be going into a Toyota organization in 2021. Now, Santino Ferrucci is the first IndyCar driver this year to even attempt to run NASCAR. To my knowledge, Santino Ferrucci has had a very, very troubled past. You know, if you've been paying attention on his way, he was actually at one point America's next Formula One driver. At one point, he was on the verge of becoming America's next Formula One driver, but he had a very, very controversial weekend and ended up basically hurting his opportunity as an F1 driver and actually was suspended, and then he was fired from Haas. They should have done that with Nikita Mazepin, but I digress. Anyway, he was fired from that team, and he went over IndyCar and drove for Dale Coyne Racing, and he really, really shined. Very surprising, not on the road course tracks, but on the oval tracks, and had his best runs on the oval tracks. And a lot of people thought that he was going to run, once again, with Dale Coyne Racing in 2021 in the IndyCar series. Now, here's one thing to note. Santino Ferrucci has said that if a competitive IndyCar ride is available, he might be thinking about running the Indianapolis 500 in 2021, but that is looking like to be the only race that he will compete in IndyCar if a ride does become available. Again, this is the first IndyCar driver in quite some time to jump over from the IndyCar series over to NASCAR. We've had multiple drivers that have been sincerely interested in coming over to NASCAR. We've had drivers like James Hinchcliffe and even Joseph Newgarden drove on the Charlotte Roval. I think it was in 2018. And he talked about maybe running one for Junior Motorsports as well. Overall, what are my expectations for Santino Ferrucci? I can't really have too high of expectations. It really depends on how quick he's able to get up to speed. I think you kind of have to have lower expectations, especially for an IndyCar driver coming over to NASCAR. We hyped up so many drivers covering IndyCar because also IndyCar, for those guys, is a little bit easier than a NASCAR car to drive, especially with the 650 horsepower package. These cars, unlike a Cup car, if you jump the Cup, you probably have a little bit easier. But for these Xfinity Series cars, these cars are a lot more harder to drive, and they're going to be a lot more difficult to drive for a driver like Santino Ferrucci. Is a way for him to learn. Now, he has been testing with Fury cars and NASCAR, so he has had some testing along the way. But Santino Ferrucci is very, very controversial. Some people are not going to be happy overall with this move. What are my expectations? Just get experience and maybe occasionally get a top 10. I do think he'll have a top shot for maybe some top 20s and some top 15s throughout the year if these cars are fast. Because 2016, the Sam Hunt Racing team, I have actually seen them with, in fact, Colin Garrett and Mason Diaz on their team. They've actually had some pretty decent runs overall in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So they may not be a bad team, and they also are going to have TRD support, which may be able to help an organization like Sam Hunt Racing get up to speed. But really cool news here that Santino Ferrucci is officially going to be running in the NASCAR Xfinity Series with Sam Hunt Racing for 20 races in 2021. So, anyway, that is going to be for today's NASCAR news video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, notifications, so you get notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links description below for that. And comment your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts about limited practice qualifying? Do you think that you're fine with this, or do you think that NASCAR should have full-on practice qualifying back all 36 races in 2021? Let me know in comments below. And what are your thoughts about Santino Ferrucci? Do you think it was a good decision for Sam Hunt Racing to bring him over or not? Let me know in comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you like it so YouTube can recommend more of these great videos out to you guys. If you do that, I would greatly appreciate it. We're only about 5 weeks from the Daytona 500, so we're getting very, very close to Daytona 500 and a lot more news stories, and I think it's going to be a very, very busy time for this channel as a lot more news stories are going to continue to spread in the NASCAR world. So anyway, guys, once again, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.